Rest assured, because Ron DeSantis is out campaigning outside of the state of Florida and picking fights with Mickey Mouse. Instead of fighting with Mickey Mouse, how about this, Ron? Show up for the people of our state.
Florida Democrats calling out Governor Ron DeSantis for visiting D.C. while parts of the state are still recovering from historic flooding. Meanwhile, DeSantis himself is escalating his feud with Disney. Watch this.
Maybe try to do more amusement parks. Someone even said, like, maybe you need another state prison. Who knows?
Back with us, former Democratic New York Congressman Max Rose and Mark McKinnon, former advisor to both George W. Bush and John McCain. He is one of the co-hosts of The Circus on Showtime. Max, what is Ron DeSantis doing? Like, explain this politics to me. One of the biggest employers, one of the biggest centers of joy for people from around the country. Who's he doing this for?
It's all about Donald Trump, and he is frenetic. He's nervous. He's shaken by the fact that Trump has completely skyrocketed in the polls, and he's acting like a baby, and he's committing massive, massive political mistakes. And at this point, I would say that if DeSantis has no shot of winning the nomination, the rate that he's going, in fact, if he does win the nomination, I'm willing to wear one of Mark's cowboy hats for an entire segment. But in all seriousness,
if he doesn't, there's no way he's getting a fast pass at Disney.
Yeah, right?
Never.
Well,
yeah.
You see signs, though, of his decline everywhere we're looking. When he just went up to D.C., barely any members of Congress showed up at his event. None were willing to endorse. In fact, one endorsed Donald Trump immediately after sitting down with Ron DeSantis. So it's a shocking, shocking decline in a presidential campaign that has not even yet announced.
I want to understand what Floridian is saying. Bring it on. I'd love a state prison next to Disney. I want to play, Mark, something Chris Christie said about Ron DeSantis.
I don't think Ron DeSantis is a conservative based on his actions towards Disney. I mean, you know, where are we headed here now? That if you express disagreement in this country, the government is allowed to punish you?
Wasn't there a time in this country when the GOP loved big business? What's going on?
Well, Christie's right on. This exposes two huge flaws in DeSantis's approach. One is the one that Christie touched on in that clip, which is to say it's so contrary to Republican orthodoxy for government to be telling private businesses how to run their businesses. And it's a complicated story we won't get into right now, but the other part of it is how petty DeSantis has gotten over this, because Disney actually kind of pulled a very smart move on them with the board and the construction of what's going on down there. And he was embarrassed by that. So now he's commenting about how they're going to regulate their rides and the safety at the parks. So the other thing that it exposes is just how petty he is. I mean, he's just he can't stand the fact that this very respected corporation has kind of pulled a fast one on him now strategically and has embarrassed him. But it's all because he started this and he didn't need to. And at the end of the day, the broader point is the big one, I think, which is it's contrary to the Republican approach and the broader orthodoxy. And if Ron DeSantis is for big government telling business what to do, then he should go be a Democrat.
I just want to know what voters, what pollsters are telling Ron DeSantis this works. Max, I want to go beyond Disney, but talk about businesses and business leadership, because we have seen this spike in anti-LGBTQ legislation, restrictive abortion bills. It was just a few years ago that we saw businesses step in a big way, right? 2016, when the NBA and other businesses pulled out of North Carolina because of the bathroom bill. Somehow that seems to have faded away.
Sure.
Why is that?
Well, of course, what's pushing DeSantis's argument and fight against Disney was Disney willing to stand up in support of LGBTQ rights. So what we're seeing is that the Republican base now in a Trump Republican-dominated party is filled and dominated by cultural grievance. It's dominated by hate towards whether it's LGBT groups or groups fighting against gun violence or whatever the like. And what's so sad, though, for the Republican Party in this case is that base is nowhere near representative of the majority of voters. And that is why, since 2016, the Donald Trump Republican Party has lost every major election thereafter, 3 in a row. And so if we were to take a step back and look at the party dynamic, this, I believe, at this point is why Joe Biden is not yet announcing for president. He has made up his mind. He made up his mind months ago. But he knows that if he stands on the sidelines and is the president, shows leadership, doesn't yet announce, his polling numbers will only go up as the Republican Party either fights one another, makes fun of DeSantis for being a baby, or when they're not divided, they're united around their hatred.
And that base isn't even based in fact. While they're out there boycotting Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch for support of LGBTQ community and going for Coors, they don't realize Coors also supports that community. Mark, let's turn to this Fox Dominion case. You know Fox News well. You have spent some time appearing there. I want to think about what they've done in the last year. They now just spent $787 million. That's the fine they're having to pay. Was that the price they paid to keep their viewers happy? And would they do it again? When Fox accurately called the Arizona election, their viewers fled to OAN and Newsmax. Did they make a calculated decision? This is how we keep our viewers?
Oh, of course they did. This was absolutely. I mean, that's why they settled the case. They made a calculation that at the end of the day, they didn't want to have their hosts going on the air apologizing for telling their viewers what they didn't want to hear. And so that was the price that they paid to continue doing business. And I think the interesting thing about this, when you net it all out, Stephanie, is that I think there's a lot of people who are frustrated that didn't go to trial and kind of wanted to get their see Fox embarrassed and play this out. But if you do play it out, I think the reality is a couple things. One is that I think there will be at the very least, everybody in the news business, including and especially Fox, will be reluctant to spread the kind of lies that they spread about Dominion and about January 6th and about the election. I think, I'm not saying they're not going to do it again, but they'll be a lot more careful about it. And the other thing that I think is clear is that there's an element of I think we should be satisfied that the truth won. I mean, at the end of the day, they got penalized almost $1 billion for lying. And that, to me, as we go forward, we say, okay, at least there's a standard here where people can tell the truth. And by the way, if we played out this trial, Lawrence made this point in the last hour, which I thought was a good one, which is we wouldn't have learned that much more. They should have settled before the depositions. All that we would have had was people going on the stand and just repeating depositions, and it wouldn't have been televised or had audio. So it just would have been a repeat of what we already know. And who knows what the jury would have done. So I think it was a significant settlement and a big step toward more truth in news.
It's about risk management. Max, you got a lot of Fox viewers in your district. Does this settlement change any hearts and minds?
It will if the Democrats actually stay focused on it and repeat this over and over and over again. Every single time that we are faced as a party with Fox News spreading continued lies, which they will continue to do. And when they're not spreading lies, they're spreading hatred. It will be absolutely vital for the Democratic Party to remind the American people, both Republicans and Democrats, that they admitted to lying just so that they could try to improve their business. And they had to pay nearly $1 billion to do that. We have to start fighting the messenger, not just fighting for the message. So this is something that the party should be repeating over and over again, and then it will have an impact.
And what we're going to do right here is tell you the cold truth every night.